Hello, world. Welcome to Pardon the Politics podcast, season 2, episode 17. I am your co-host, Jeezy, along with my brother and my man in politics, Manny. How you doing, my brother?
Man, I'm doing good. How are you doing this fine afternoon?
Hey, man. I'm doing all right, man. Any day above ground is a great day, no matter how that day looks. I'm glad to have a day, whether it's good or bad. So I can't complain, man.
That's fair because between us recording the last podcast and this podcast, somebody cannot say that.
Bruh.
Somebody cannot. And I believe we're going to talk about that somebody today.
I believe so, brother. As the good old gospel song goes, millions didn't make it, but I was the one that did. Somebody didn't have a good day today. But guess what? I did. Yeah. So, man, I'm so glad to be back podding, doing another episode. So welcome to our listeners tuning in to episode 17. I hope that this episode finds you in the greatest and best spirit that you can possibly be. I hope all is well, and we appreciate you tuning in. So
always.
With that being said, we'll go ahead and jump right into our episode. I think we all are familiar with this event that has happened globally in our world, and that is Pope Francis passed away on Easter Monday, which was April the 21st at the age of 88.
That's a long life, man.
That is, man.
That's a long life.
That is a long life. According to the Vatican, the cause of death was a stroke, which followed by an irreversible, basically his cardiocirculatory collapsed. Now
and the man been going through it he was going through it in these last couple months.
He has. I believe that. I thought he was on the mend. You know, he actually, when we saw him on Easter, he looked good, but then all of a sudden, we seen him with JD Vance, and I saw him shaking hands with JD, and the next thing I know, I woke up Monday morning and the man was dead, and I was like, wait, hold up. I thought he was being restored to his most wanted and needed health, and he was shaking hands and talking. You know, the last person he spent his days with happened to be JD, and you know, the 10-4 hat community been saying JD may have something to do with this.
I mean, you know, before we dig into it, I think it was probably great for him to, you know, they say when old people are getting ready to transition, they have that moment of clarity, that like last rush of energy for him to spend his last days. I think they said even on Easter, he went out to a prison there and then took that ride around the Basilica and St. Peter's Square to see the people in the Pope Mobile. And I think for the crowd, I think every time you see the Pope out amongst the people, and Pope Francis was definitely one of the popes who was definitely out amongst the people, but for him to take that trip in the Pope Mobile to really just be loved on by the crowd.
I don't know why the Pope Mobile just I don't know. Does it have an official title? Does it have an official name when he rides in this vehicle?
Pope Force One.
The Pope Mobile sounds like he comes sliding down like Batman and
man,
bro,
it's bulletproof,
bro. I will say though, you know, going back, and I thought about this on a serious note, because y'all know how we are here at Pardon the Politics. We're gonna get the jokes off. We're gonna get the jokes off. But before I say what I have to say, his funeral was Saturday, April the 26th, and there was an attendance of over 250,000 mourners, including numerous people that were global dignitaries. And, you know, when I thought about this...
You were trying to figure out who was frying their fish?
Oh, bro, look, first of all, I want to know, as the black community would say, you got to ask two things when somebody passed. Who got the body? And who preparing the food?
Got to know. These are key things I have to know.
I gotta know. So I need Trump. If you hear this, we know you were in attendance. If you went to the repast, let us know, man. How was the fried chicken? Was the macaroni and cheese suffice? Yeah, let us know. I've never been to a Catholic repast. I don't even know if Catholics have repasts.
Another thing we need to find out, man. Right. If you're a listener and you are Catholic, after the death, is there a repast?
Is there a repast? And what do you eat at this repast? What do you eat? Because I mean, everybody got to be hungry after the proceedings. Yeah. You got to get you a good hot piece of fish, or at least some chicken.
Got you.
But in all seriousness, when I thought about the Pope, and there's a lot of ceremonial and a lot of just proceedings that go on. This is a long process. I know we were talking before, I think the longest I've seen this take this long for somebody to be buried was James Brown. It just seems like it is a lot. So I was just like, this is, kind of crazy. I've never seen this on a serious note. The only time I've ever seen something that takes so long, I believe, is like when the Queen died. Queen of England died. So I'm like, okay, there's so much ceremonial things and all these things that take place. And even with the Pope now, with this episode dropping, there's still things that have to take place with selecting a new Pope. But my thought process led me to when I heard about things that he's done different. Like I think like in centuries, he's going to be one of the first Pope in centuries that's not going to be buried. Like, I guess where the Pope typically gets buried, like he's in a very modest, like burial site that is not I'm using the word flashy, but not flashy and not of what you would expect the Pope to have. It's very modest. And when I saw this and read about this, it made me kind of look into the legacy and life of Pope Francis, because when I see the Pope pass, I wonder what was his influence on the world. What was his influence globally? And one of the things that seemed to come up about Pope Francis a lot was this modesty, that this very he was very humble. The humility of the Pope was one that was talked about so much, and from my understanding seemed to be he's one of the popes that will go down as being known as one of the most modest popes that we have seen in this world. So just to see the ceremonial proceedings that happened in his death, but to see how this man was such a modest human being really kind of spoke volume to me. I'm not a very knowledgeable person about the Catholic faith. I'm not Catholic, but certainly I knew of the Pope, but to know that his legacy that he leaves behind is of a modesty. I think you pointed out at the beginning of the episode, the day before he died, he's out serving. Out, wanting to see the people, being a man of the people. And, you look at some of the things that he's done and changed. And, one of the things I'm trying to understand with the Pope is the influence that each Pope has. And certain popes are different than other popes. And I know from them being a spiritual guide, it led me, and I know this is probably weird by them being spiritual guides, but it led me to think, where does he rank among the popes that we have seen?
Well, okay. So you dropped a whole bunch of there that I could hop in on. So I'm just going to go right down the line. So at first, I think what people forgot is Vatican City is its own country.
Yeah.
with the Swiss Guard. So, we're seeing the death and the ceremonialness of a sitting head of state.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I remember saying something to you like that. I'm like, dog, the Pope really has
oh yeah.
I didn't realize the Pope was that powerful. Really.
Yeah. So I think that's the first piece of it. Going on to the second piece, I think that when you look at his reign, his time in office, it was really just about the people. He really being that spiritual shepherd, even from the start. So not taking the usual Pope quarters in Vatican City. He chose a much more modest apartment. And it's my understanding that even at his time of death, he owned only a couple things, like literally a couple things. Like it was some shoes, some black shoes. And first off, I get it.
Hey, black go to everything.
Black go with everything, and you need a pair of comfortable shoes.
Yep.
You got to be in there.
When you find that one, you like, nope, this is it.
Let me go ahead and get 4 or 5 of them pairs and keep moving. But for him to always be amongst the people and to keep that as the forefront, and just some of the first with him, he was the first Jesuit Latin American Pope. So definitely a big win per se for Latin America. And then if you also looked at what he did, he was really big on putting people he never forgot the foundation of the church. I feel as though, me also not being Catholic, but also understanding in these last couple of days his impact. He sent cardinals and heads of the church to locations that typically hadn't had cardinals and hadn't had leaders of the faith. And then also, I think the other thing he'll go down as is a large reformer of the church. Not only just really trying to address the concerns of the people, being more liberal, and definitely his focus on LGBT rights, women, social justice, and then living in harmony with other religions. If you look at all the comments that came out about him in the day, or more accurately, the hours after his death, that's something that people really talked about. It was like he really just pushed for the dialogue between faiths. Now, did he get everything right? No. I think there are a couple movies that I watched over the last week. Angels and Demons and Conclave. We'll get to the Conclave later. But one of the lines in Angels and Demons is, hey, these are systems built by men, and men aren't perfect. So I think he recognized his flaws, and really just kind of try to navigate through those, but to grant that same mercy to other people. He was big being against the death penalty. He was big on, doing what needed to be done to try to stop wars and hurting people. So it'll be interesting to not only see what his legacy looks like, and let's also not forget, he came into the papacy at a very interesting time. Yeah. Because we all remember Pope Benedict, who was like, bruh, I don't want to do this anymore. Bruh, I'm out.
Well, Benedict was like, yeah, y'all had this.
Y'all had this, man.
Y'all worm me.
I'm tired. Now, and the big interesting thing that I saw like this week and talking about it, people are like, oh, well, Pope Francis has maybe like half of that amount of people that a sitting pope in office had the last time that happened. And when like the news reporter said that, I was like, that's a real awkward way to say that. Because obviously Pope Benedict stepped down, and the last pope before him was Pope John Paul II. Bro, Pope John Paul II was pope forever. Two people who were public leaders who were just in the public eye forever, Pope John Paul II and the Queen. So if you ask, like, from your last point in terms of, how does he rank over popes in our lifetime? Well, there's only 3. There's only 3. So you got Pope John Paul, you got Pope Benedict, you got Pope Francis. I don't know how I would rank them at this point. I haven't committed that much thought around it. Yeah. But, I think when Pope John Paul II, in the wake of all the sexual abuse scandals and whatnot, Pope Francis was really he had to clean up a lot of this. Yeah. So, and then opening the doors of the church to wider and broader audiences. So it'll be interesting to see where the Cardinals go next.
Well, one thing that you said that, and looking over the influence and the legacy of Pope Francis, I saw a quote that he stated when it came to social justice and global advocacy, and really specifically to poverty and inequality. He said that poverty was the scandal the world has forgotten, and I thought that was very interesting of a point for him to make, and why he had such a he took on the responsibility of really trying to elevate the needs of the poor, because he understood, and I just thought that was a really great way to put it, that I think most, if not all, global and world leaders should look at, that poverty is that way. It is a scandal that the world has often forgot about, and even down to just his when it came to refugees and migration, that he was such a strong advocate for just humane treatment on migrants and refugees, urging countries to welcome and support them as part of our Christian duty. And I thought that was very important, because though to be a Christian, I often think sometimes it's odd to hear how we treat refugees and treat immigrants, but then we call ourselves Christians. And right. I think this hear him say that, the way that we treat them is a Christian duty. I thought was very, very spot on. I think it was a hard truth that I think a lot of people who claim to be of the Christian faith often forget, the duty of how we treat our fellow man. And lastly, you said something about, a lot of the scandal and a lot of things he had to clean up. And, one thing about there was a lot of reporting and a lot of instances of sexual abuse that took place. And one thing that I applaud Pope Francis on, and while some may criticize him as not moving as fast as he should, or maybe inconsistent in this matter, he did acknowledge the fact that there was abuse, and he condemned that abuse, and he went on to try to implement some Vatican procedures to create some accountability for these situations.
Again, and is there ever going to be there's never going to be a perfect response.
I don't think that you can.
Talking about a organization, if you look at the Catholic Church as a whole, 1.8 billion people?
Yeah.
You're not going to make everyone happy. You're never going to move fast enough, or you're going to move too fast.
Yeah, I completely agree. And with a topic that is so sensitive, you almost can't find yourself on the right side of it at any pace. And lastly, I just like the fact of his influence and trying to create interfaith dialogue, to what you pointed out. I often believe that though we can be of different faiths, that does not mean that we can't come together. We can't be one accord, at least, of caring about something. There are multiple faiths. When you think of the Muslims and the Jews and different Christian denominations, though there may be some differences, there has to be at least one thing that we all find in common. Right. And while we may be different, that one thing that we may have in common should be able to bring us together for the betterment of not just my faith, your faith, others' faith, but just for the world in general. So for Pope Francis to be an advocate for that, and to try to engineer and manufacture that type of dialogue between the faiths, I commend him for that.
Mm-hmm. Because it's not easy.
It's not an easy. My God, it's not easy at all.
You're talking about faith, people's true core moral compasses and stuff. Here, it's not easy.
And man, we've talked about it before. We can look back and see that, certain faith, we can see that there's deep rooted hatred that is generational. And that, can blind those of trying to have these conversations to promote the betterment for their people. So I applaud him for that. But I think, Manny, that when we go forward, and we know that in the coming days, conclave will be coming up. Shout out to the Qs.
I mean, that So
the first time I've ever heard about a conclave was the Qs where they have their little national convention.
I asked my father-in-law. I'm like, hey, you when you flying out to Italy, man?
I didn't know y'all had a vote in the Pope. Y'all ain't even the first. Like how y'all get to have a vote? We should be doing that. But anyway, the conclave will be coming up where they'll select a new Pope. And I thought about with all the things that, because I'm learning a lot of this in the wake of his death, and I'm learning for the sake of the potting and just for my general knowledge of myself, how these things play out. And when they run down the list of potentials, it makes you think that it's kind of like with our presidents, will the legacy and the work that he has tried to carry out, will it be carried on? Because I realize that there's some popes that have different views, and some are more conservative, some are more liberal, which I'm still trying to process that as the Pope being the spiritual leader. I don't understand the conservative and liberal aspect of it, but certain popes have certain viewpoints on certain things. And there's some popes that felt like Pope Francis was a little too far left and they need to get it back in the middle. Some want to take it all the way to the right.
Well, and I mean, it's just like, from at this point, I think you also have to start looking at it, not necessarily as a faith, but this is an election. There are votes casting now. I also find it mighty interesting that the Catholic Church says, hey, man, if you over the age of 80, nah, brother, y'all not doing this.
Bruh.
But before we get talking about the new Pope, because we can get some of these jokes off. Geez, I got a question for you. Looking at everything that happened leading up to it. First off, hit my theme music.
Bruh. Did me dirty.
See, that was that might have been the Lord. Be like,
Pope Francis said, he up there in the sky said, I know. But y'all getting too many jokes off.
But what did JD say in that meeting that caused the Pope to say, you know what?
I got you, brother.
He said, you know what? I can't pray about this.
Bruh.
I need to go talk to the man. I need to go talk to HR one-on-one.
Hey, bro. Some things you just can't pray about. Some things you just got to go to God directly.
I just got to go straight to the office and talk.
I got to go see him face to face, and I got to talk to him about this matter.
Because that was the first of two run-ins that JD Vance had, because apparently he was over in India, and with him leaving India, now we have these new reports that Pakistan and India about to go to war. JD, what did you do? Well, stop. No, stop meeting people. Or maybe it's time for you to go meet some other people.
Bruh.
Is JD going to be leading an envoy to see the supreme ruler of Iran?
Hey, bro, could it be that we worried so much about Donald Trump and Elon Musk were really the villain?
The villain was JD. We about to find out,
bro.
But yeah. Getting back to seriousness, the conclave is an election, so
that's wild to me, bro. I get it, they're electing a pope, but I think the thing that I'm trying to have a hard time of grasping is the difference in the popes, like the conservative and liberalness of popes. When they're the spiritual guide, you would think that if they all follow the same word, then
the book is the book.
The book is the book. But then I read, I guess it's up to the Pope for interpretation. And I'm like, well, that sounds like that could get real dangerous because if I am let's say of the liberal approach, then I may interpret it this way. Well, if I'm of the conservative approach, then I may perceive it this way. And then now that perception is influencing 1.3, 1.8 billion Catholics. That is, to me, it sounds political. And I'm like, I guess I can't grasp in my head how you're the spiritual guide, but this sounds real political. So it's like, I didn't think those two things supposed to mix.
But here we are, then like it's real interesting. So I also started looking at what were the official requirements to be Pope.
Okay.
And there are three. Must be male.
Okay.
Must be baptized in the Catholic faith.
Okay.
So and then theoretically, any baptized Catholic male is eligible. However, you don't even have to be a cardinal, but some of usually almost every time it's a cardinal. It's somebody that the previous pope appointed.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at all the people who are going to be casting votes this time, I think it's about 120 cardinals will be casting votes.
Hold on, but I think that the only people that can vote, you have to be at least 80 years old, right?
No. I think the
cutoff is 80.
The cutoff is 80. The youngest cardinal in there is 45.
Okay.
But if you're over 80, like, nah. Which leads me, America.
See,
maybe we should think about this.
They see it obviously as a problem. Why can't we? Why don't we?
But I think it's going to be real interesting because, right now everyone's putting together their lists or who I think is going to be the Pope.
Bro, I've seen that people like legit like doing bed nods and like putting money on it, bro.
Oh, bro, I've been watching these roll in, and I'm like, oh, this is getting kind of interesting. But to my understanding, at this standpoint, if you look at the last two conclaves, Pope Francis and Pope Benedict weren't on that list.
Really?
Yeah, they were.
So they weren't even a bed nod. They weren't even
favorites stepping into it. Like not even favorites. They weren't even in the odds. So it's just like anything could happen in one of these. And look,
hold on. So if you're telling me that anything can happen,
anything can happen.
If that's the case, then will we have our first black pope?
Look, on the betting odds, there are two popes from Africa who are on that list.
Uh-oh.
So, boy.
Bro, we might be getting our first nope.
Boy.
I'll let y'all read between the lines what nope means. We might be getting our first nope. Get our first one, boy. Let's go. Hey, bro, I seen on the list, man. But see, that's what worries me. Because see, the bedknobs are saying that old buddy Pietro, who's the Vatican Secretary of State, he's been there since 2013. They're saying that he got the bedknobs, and he was Pope Francis' boy. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
But if you're saying that the last two weren't even on the list, whew.
Anything could happen. Because again, go, when they start voting, they lock them in a room and say, "Y'all figure this out." So
how long do you think this process is going to go before they find a new pope? Because I know we got to wait for the white smoke.
So we got to wait for the white smoke. Every time they vote, they got to
burn it, right?
They burn it. If it's black smoke, they don't have. No one has the 2/3. If it's white smoke, there's a new pope. And it's my understanding.
I'm about to say, what's the longest it's taken for them to select a new pope? Like, how many days did we see black smoke before we saw white?
Bro, I don't know. But a couple things that I do know is that apparently it's a free-for-all.
Yeah.
So up until 70 votes, if they get through 70 votes, it's no longer a free-for-all. It's almost like, okay, now we having a primary. Who are the top two?
Bruh.
we can decide through these top two. So it's going to be interesting. Like, and then to look at the distribution 40% of the cardinals are from Europe, 15 from Latin America, 13 from Africa, 12 from Asia, 10% from North America, and 2 from the Indonesia Oceanic area. The U.S. has the largest block of any single country.
So question, you said what's the qualifications?
You got to be male, essentially a male and Catholic. Those are
that's it.
Absolute minimum.
So then you telling me there's a possibility
that one of us could be the Pope?
I was gonna say Barron Trump.
Look,
hey,
anything can happen.
Hey, hey.
What one of the quotes that I got from Angels and Demons was that the conclave must not be rushed; it must be inspired. So I'm assuming there's a lot of praying, there's a lot of conversations happening with the Lord. Be like,
that's too much.
I would never want to be Pope. I'm gonna take this a step further. This is why I never see myself in the pulpit in any capacity whatsoever. Right. Because I don't look. If you a pastor or something, you're responsible for those souls that that are trusted, and to be that person for over a billion people.
Hey man, be careful what you say now, because you might go to sleep tonight and Pope Francis visit you in your dreams and say, "Brother, it's your time."
Pass it, because I'm wake up and say, "Get thee behind me, Satan." First off, what you doing here talking to me? No,
what you doing over here?
Nope.
I heard your latest episode of Part of the Politics. I just wanted to come visit you and let you know.
You're next. Absolutely not. Pass this.
Pass this cup for me.
If this be thy will.
Bruh.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. Bruh. Absolutely not.
Well, I will say this before we move on to our next topic. It was very interesting to see, as I stated before, there were over 250,000 mourners that came to the funeral that happened this past Saturday. But there was one person that was in attendance that apparently didn't get the memo, or he don't check his emails or his phone, or he just don't care.
Or can't read.
Or can't read. That is a strong possibility. At Pope Francis' funeral, President Trump drew significant attention and criticism for wearing a blue suit and a light blue tie, deviating from the traditional black attire expected at such events. While the Vatican dress code for the funeral required male attendees to wear dark suits with black ties and a black button on the left lapel, Trump's choice stood out among the predominantly black suited dignitaries.
They should have kicked him out,
bruh.
I'd have kicked him out.
If this was a black church, they would have made him sit in the back, or he would have had to wait. He could have came to the graveside and he could have been there, but you won't about to sit in this ceremony, and you're supposed to have your black suit on. Now, Trump, everybody know. I know you're not black, but everybody knows that when you go to a funeral, that's when you got to pull out the black suit, brother.
Right, got to.
You came with this blue suit on.
Sticking out like a sore thumb
on the front row. Even Melania had on. She ain't gonna never miss no moment. Now Melania be fitted up.
Melania saw those requirements. She said, "Black, cool. Let me go to the black wing of my wardrobe and figure out which one of these I'm popping out."
She came through clean, bro. Like, I ain't even gonna front on Melania. She always be clean with it, especially in a morning state. But then, like, Trump, your wife got the right attire on. What, you just didn't pack your suit? Like, so of course, everybody's been going crazy on social media about it, because he did look crazy amongst everybody.
Wow.
But the White House communications director put out a statement saying that the president and the first lady honored the life and service of Pope Francis, and those who try to distract them from that should be ashamed of themselves. Now, I recall a time where there was a man that wore a tan suit on Easter, and you would have thought that he You would have
committed
thought
treason. This man stole the Declaration of Independence.
on Resurrection Sunday, you'd have thought he was Judas himself. The way that the world went crazy over that, but then Trump went a wrong suit to the Pope thing. And, y'all gotta chill out. Y'all gotta chill out. Y'all gotta chill out. Okay.
Well, and that's not all that happened. Apparently, him and Zelensky had a little bit of a sit down chat, and
this ain't the time for that, y'all. Bro, you know how mad, bro. One time I was at a funeral, and somebody that I knew had passed away. And there was someone that I had a particular issue with, or I guess there was an issue with. Well, they decided that this was the right time to pull me aside to talk about said issue. And in my mind, I was sitting there thinking, man, this ain't the time for us to be having this conversation. Like, we had a funeral. Like, so when I seen that,
and if you roll up on me the wrong way, we might be having a second one.
Bro, go ahead. We about to reignite with what you thought we had.
Right. Preacher, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere.
But I'm sitting here like, why was this necessary? Like, could this not have been done the day after? Because you not got there the day before. Well, I don't understand.
Here, first off, I agree with that wholeheartedly. But also, we're also watching the situation in Ukraine, because what are we currently 96 days past the deadline that Trump gave himself for ending the war.
Yeah.
And we saw him go ahead and what is a message on Truth Social called? It's not a tweet. Truth out.
Truey.
Truey. So he had put out a Truey that said, "Vladimir, stop." I'm like, boy, what are you doing? Just yelling in. Is Vladimir Putin on Truth Social?
First of all, thank you. Who are you yelling at?
But so maybe they were trying to find an opportunity, because I know what we also saw is French President Emmanuel Macron.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Macron? I've been calling this Emmanuel.
Macaroni.
Emmanuel Macaroon. Since he's been elected, but I'm like, he came through and basically shook Zelensky's hand and was like, "Hey," and I was like, you know what? I've seen that before.
Yep.
Where you got to holler at the friend you cool with, and someone you don't like, "Hey, what's up?"
Mm-hmm.
So not the time, not the place.
Yeah, but I think also with mounting pressure of holding a campaign promise, I think that Trump's desperate, and hey, he's using whatever moment he can. But regardless of the fact,
because he put out a soft deadline apparently now that he wants to end the war or get to a ceasefire in the first 100 days, which will happen on the 30th. I don't think he's going to get there.
I don't think he's going to get there either. And yeah, that's actually a good segue into our next topic.
There we go.
So before we move over to, we do want to say to the life and legacy and influence of Pope Francis, the work that you have done, the decisions that you have made, while I would hope they were in the best interest of the Catholic faith. Thank you for the service, your care for the poor, your humane approach to society, and hopefully the next pope will continue that, build upon that, and take the Catholic faith to whatever vision that you saw and whatever vision that you are given by your faith. So,
and if not, just join the sideshow that the U.S. is currently in.
Bingo. And if the new pope want to come and talk to the American people, you can hit us up here, Pardon the Politics.
We'd love to have you on. We will make the trip. We will make the trip.
Yeah, we'll make the trip over there. We'll sit and talk to you. So the boys ain't gonna never miss an opportunity to work. So let us know.
We'll come check out St. Peter's Basilica.
I'm sure we got a listener somewhere that's in the area. So y'all get the word out and spread it for us over there. But nonetheless, as Manny basically segued us into this next topic, we are coming up on the first 100 days of Trump's administration, and it has.
It's been something.
But I was gonna say, I do want to point out
We're still here.
Yeah,
we're still here.
We're still here, and from my understanding, the Lord Jesus Christ still sits upon the throne. So we're covered for now. You hadn't got up and put them sandals to come down here yet, so there's still a chance.
There's still a chance. There's still time.
But during this period, some of the key actions and initiative that Trump has done is, of course, we've seen the massive amount of sharpies. Are there tariffs on those sharpies? Because that might be something they need to look into. Do we export sharpies or import sharpies?
That's a good question.
Where do sharpies get made?
We're gonna find this out
because that might be a cost to the consumer.
Donald Trump writes, at this rate, 1.4 executive orders a day. Bruh. Up to this point, he has 137 executive orders. It is a record, if anyone was wondering.
Bruh, that is crazy.
He has created Doge.
Yeah.
Gutted USAID and the Department of Education with a couple others on deck. Mm-hmm. Really tried to bring under control of the federal government independent agencies like the FCC and the SEC. He's sparring with courts. The sparring with Congress hasn't started yet, but
that's got to be next, I would assume.
Oh, most definitely. What immigration? Dear God,
that has been. While work has been done, and some would say and view that he has upheld his campaign promise, I think it has come with a bit of, certainly public scrutiny, but I believe definitely some mixed reviews on the approach and the aspect of how this is played out and being what I guess some would call effective. I don't think it has been effective when we see the mass amount of mess ups that has taken on.
But it's been the only thing that's gone somewhat close to according to his plan.
Yeah. But then again, but after that's done, what's that song? After the love is gone. after the immigrants are gone.
Right.
Then what? Because if this is the only thing we can point at as being successful, when that is gone and handled, because at the rate y'all deporting people, right, at this point, y'all gonna have to start tapping into actual homegrown citizens by July at the rate y'all are going.
Well, and it's not, and even at this point, it's no longer just illegal immigrants. Over this past weekend, there were 3 children who are U.S. citizens that were deported. One of which, I believe, was dealing with cancer treatments.
Come on, bro. No, I ain't hear that. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Bro, come on now.
So apparently the parents were illegal immigrants, and they're like, oh no. Tom said, we wrapping them all up and sending them up out of here.
That's what I'm talking about when I was saying in the previous segment about the Pope and how when it comes to migrants and refugees, like, bro, there got to be some humane approach to that. Because come on, like I ain't even gonna get started on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that can only be the only aspect that can be viewed as going according to plan. But I think recently, since we're approaching the 100 days, his approval numbers came out, and for his first 100 days, his approval numbers are historically low. According to Gallup, his approval rating stands at 42%, and I believe that out of the past 5 presidents, this is the lowest. And I think he's on that list twice. Because I think on his first term he might have been at like 45% in his first 100 days.
Well, and even spinning on that, CNN did a poll. If we looked at the approval rating with women, in February is at 44%. Now it's sitting at 36%. With independents, it was at 43%, which is already bad. But 43%, now it's sitting at 31%. And here's a shocking one. I know this one is really going to shock you. With Hispanics, the approval was at 41%. And now It's at 28%.
Oh, I thought y'all see that's what I'm confused. I thought y'all was rolling with Donald Trump.
Right.
Y'all, but look, that's the thing that's weird to me when I see these numbers is because the exact thing that he said he was going to do, he's doing
the thing.
So then now I get confused because I'm like, I don't think, and I'm not saying this to offend anybody, but I didn't think that we as Americans were this stupid. That when I believe it was Maya Angelou that told you that if somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Believe them.
If the man said that he was going to do these things and then he didn't, he's doing them and you don't approve of them, then what did you approve of before?
Right.
I'm confused. I am confusion.
Oh, I'm going to deport all. Well, I think it is more so a lack of thinking beyond the statement. Like, okay, yeah, I'm going to deport all these illegal immigrants. Cool. That is a very contained statement, ignoring all the other industries that they support here in the U.S. Oh, I'm going to shrink the size of government. Cool. That means all these people who work in the federal government are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah. I'm
going to raise tariffs on all these countries. Cool. That's going to send up the price of American goods. Like it's almost as if a lot of people didn't think past the statement, didn't think past the first step.
Which is why I don't think that we need to be defunding and getting rid of the Department of Education, because clearly we can't do second level critical thinking.
Right. Clearly.
That don't need to be defunded because that's so funny that you say that, because I've had conversations with people and they're like, oh, Trump is going to do this. And then I'm like, okay, but you do know that means that in order to do this, then you have to do this, which will result in this. And then it's like, oh, nah. Well, I didn't. Nah, like what?
You can't have it both ways. This ain't Burger King.
That's not how this works. It's like I don't get it. And then I read in a report that while his approval rating is at like 42%, he still has 96%. So he still is at 96% as far as his base support. So even in that aspect, it's like, y'all don't approve, but I still support. I don't,
because things haven't gotten real yet.
And you're right.
And I think that's the reality of it. Things have not. The Target, your local Target, Walmart, Macy's, our Home Depot, Lowe's, like stuff is still on the shelf. We haven't seen giant pricing swings. The only people that I would say at this point have started to really feel the reality of what's happening and the decisions that this administration are making are people with money in the stock market. To watch the ebbs and flows and losing 10% in a single day, or having it shoot back up another 8 only a couple hours later to lose another 5. Like a lot of people aren't truly experiencing what is happening. There was a report that came out, asterisk, because I've not dug fully into the report or really got details, but there was saying that a bunch of ships left China to sail back to the U.S. were largely empty. So we're starting to see issues on supply chains slowly but surely. And it takes a minute. Think about when COVID happened. After everyone bought all the toilet paper at Costco, how long it took for more toilet paper to get there.
Well, my thing is that, I mean, and maybe because I was fortunate enough to be born with common sense. But I don't need to see the tornado for me to seek shelter.
Bruh.
I believe signs. I believe you when you I believe the warning signs. So I don't need to see it for me to seek shelter. I don't understand why when we think as well, I mean, I guess it's critical thinking. I don't understand why people don't realize that things happen because of the consequences of decisions. That's how we get to where we're at. So when I see these numbers dropping in approval, but I still see that the support is still high, I question that, and you're 100% right that people just haven't seen it yet. But I believe that if this administration doesn't figure out something beyond these 100 days, certainly by summertime,
winter is coming.
Man, let me tell you, it's gonna get real sticky out in these streets. I already feel like it is. I know I shared this to you before, and I forgot to tell you before we did the pod. I live in it. For those of you, our listeners who don't know, I live in a very rural area. And so a lot of the people that I live around are Trump supporters. And there are certain houses that I know when I drive by, they are very extra with the Trump flags. And I remember the day that Trump won. One house in particular that's not too far from me had a big old flag flying high in the sky. Trump 2020. I can't remember what it said. Trump 2025. We did it. Now go save America. And I mean, they're all over.
Which America?
Yeah, I don't know. There must be the one that's on Fortnite or something. It must be a fantasy America. I don't know what y'all are talking about. But lately, in my drive around, I've started to notice these Trump flags are coming down. And one house in particular, the day I saw driving home, that this guy had, I remember when Trump won, I swear this dude had 20-yard signs, 2 flags. I mean, crazy.
Bro, that's wild.
No, not a people Trump in sight anymore. He has replaced the Trump flag with a North Carolina state flag. Same as another one. And then the one that had the big, huge flag, he ain't got nothing on the pole no more. So I would say to myself, okay, now I'm starting to see flags come down and either be replaced or not replaced with anything at all. And then I look up Gallup's number and I see 42%. I'm sitting here like, okay, maybe it's clicking for some people. Some people maybe are starting to realize it, but I think that, and of course Trump is going to spin this where I'm sure he's going to attack Gallup, and Gallup's wrong. And that's the thing that kills me about him and his supporters is that all because he says it's true. So he'll get up there and say, well, see, I see the poll number that said I was sitting at 67%, which first of all, 67% is wild. But
thank you, Newsmax, for doing that poll. Like, let me ask people that like me, how you feel about me.
Yep. And so we already know that these poll numbers are gonna. He loves his approval numbers, but when they start dwindling, I just wonder what is going to be the angle at this point. Because again, the only thing that we can say in these first 100 days that he's successfully done, if you want to call it success, is his approach to deportation. But that still does not impact the lives of everyday Americans to the point of driving our grocery prices down, putting more money in our pockets. We still don't have a plan of what he's going to do for for homeowners, and
interest rates are still
high. Yep, still high. Jerome ain't budging. And ain't gonna budge because you keep throwing tariffs here and there. What happens when the supplies that these companies have run out, and now these tariffs that you keep implementing are now in real time effect? And somebody is building a home or doing this, or Walmart's having this, and we know the summer's coming, and now these prices have jumped to this. And I think that he has to figure this thing out. And I think that after these 100 days, I think he's really starting to see like, okay, I got to start doing something, because at the end of the day, I don't see anything that he can do or that he's trying to do right now that's going to stop this 42% from being lower the next time we see that number again.
Well, and I think a couple of questions that are sitting out there are going to be, how do we're getting ready to start being in campaign season. So, Republicans, especially Republicans who are up for election, how are you guys going to start acting? We already see pushes from Tom Tillis, from Rand Paul to try to retake over tariff control back to Congress. And I think that's what we'll start seeing. And then the other question is, how are Democrats going to respond? Because I believe right now, Cory Booker and another House member are staging a sit-in in Congress.
Oh my God!
How are they preparing for this? Because it provides them an opportunity, but will they squander the opportunity? And I believe the answer is yes. I think some will succeed, but by and large, I think it will fail.
whatever success I feel like would potentially come for the Democrats in the election season, I think ultimately will fall underneath the bar of where they could have been had they been more strategic, more real about the approach, and had more unity in how they were going to tackle the issue. Cory Booker did what he did, talking on the floor. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody cares anymore. Sit-in going on. I didn't even know it was going on because, quite frankly, I
Bro,
don't
I
care.
saw
That
it
I
on
don't.
TikTok.
I don't even care that it's going on because it ain't gonna solve any issue. It's not doing anything. So you can miss. I've said it before. You can miss me with the performatives. Y'all need to
Please.
get behind closed doors and get a real plan. Now, I don't know what the plan is. I know Bernie Sanders been out here working these streets.
Him and
AOC,
AC.
AOC been going ham. They talking, they getting in front of people and talking. They're not performing. While it may fall on deaf ears, and while they may not be successful, I like the fact that they're out traveling, talking to the American people. I've
See,
always,
and this is where I'm torn on that because I think rallies are good for energy, but you're not actually doing anything.
I mean, you're not.
Like, how are you? We're getting ready this week to start talking about very large budgetary items. How are we going to navigate that? You know, Trump's going to get a lot of what he wants in that because
Oh
he
yeah,
has control. So how do you push back on that? You know, how do you moderate out some of these extremist group? And people, I think people are going to yell and complain like, oh, well, don't give an inch. Cool, you cannot give an inch and they're just going to steamroll by you.
yep.
Or you can come in here and cut a deal and try to dampen the effect, you know. And the focus, I believe, what Cory Booker is out there talking about at this point is around Medicaid and potential efforts to gut it this week. So I'm not saying his stuff is nothing, but
But it,
missed
to
me with
me
the
is
performance.
to me is nothing when there is no plan of how we're going to go about it. And
Right.
when I look at what AOC and Bernie are doing, which why I'm more of a supporter of that is because there's no need for me to stay in the house while it's burning. I might as well go outside and figure some things out.
True.
So to me, I mean, they're not getting anything done in the house. Period. So why am I going to stay in here? And y'all are just worried about being performative. Y'all are just worried about carrying all these acts, but nobody is trying to really do anything to get anything done.
Well, Jeezy, hear me out for a second.
Okay.
Boy, I know people are mad at Chuck Schumer. I think AOC might be out here on the road getting ready to primary Mr. Schumer.
Bruh.
For his seat in a little bit because he ran in 20, I believe. Yep, he ran in 20, so he'll be up in 26.
Bruh. And I think that with the push that she's been getting, because they've been the way they've been kind of broadcasting what she was doing, you would almost think she's running for president. I think she coming for that head, and I think that she got a well. We talked about it on the previous episode. I think she got a good shot, bro.
Chuck might need to be a little bit concerned.
He might. People with them glasses all you want to, brother. You better have you a plan because AOC coming for you, and I'm gonna tell you,
coming through that throat meat.
These young people are growing. They're getting involved in politics, and when you got someone like her that is energetic, can really
relate
and can relate. You know, she come from the Bronx. She come from humble beginnings. You know, if just off of sheer delivery.
Well, and people forget, like, that's how Trump got here.
Yep.
Because he related to this block of people.
Yep.
And that block of people took over the Republican Party, and here we are today.
Chuck, ain't nobody trying to hear Ebenezer Scrooge talking about problems and plans and stuff, man. Nah.
While you in your kente cloth struggling to stand back up.
Nah.
Saying Wakanda forever.
Bruh. So I just got a feeling, man, that they in the bind. But with Trump's 100 days, I don't think that they've been successful. If I had to give it a grade, I'd give it probably a C plus at best.
See, I dual graded. I give him a F because I'm not liking most of these things. This is a failure. But if I look at the raw execution,
yeah,
I think the only person on his team that is producing is Tom and RFK.
Yeah,
RFK is doing something, and I'll hit that one in a little bit.
RFK always I'm with him 2 steps, and then he do something that I got to take him 3 steps back,
Bro,
and then he do something, and I'm like, okay,
I can rock with this.
I can rock with you, and then next thing you know, it's like, all right. But I would agree. I think that those are the only 2 that I feel like, and we might have to give a little bit of shout out to what's his name, Bissett.
Oh, the Treasury.
Yeah, we gotta give him some love too, bro. Cause he got old boy up out of here, and he ain't backing down to Elon. So no, we got to give him some love too, bro.
Okay, so 3 of however many.
3.
So
everybody else I don't know what they got going on between Cash, Bondi, Chrissy Known playing cosplay.
Actually, no, we're forgetting about Rubio. Man, he got Rubio out here.
Yeah, but see,
globetrotting, trying to put out fire. So I give him at least a C-.
Rubio be doing some things sometimes. I be kind of scratching my head like, all right, what's your approach too? Because you got some stuff that don't sound right to me either. That so we'll see. But I think that I'd be interested to see in the next 100 days. Where this administration will be, and where ultimately the American people will approve of the job that they've done. So,
but I hold on. Before I think we would be completely remiss because we had I'm trying to find it right now. We had a major moment over the last 48 hours where Donald Trump said something. To which, in this administration, he has not said anything that I fully agree with 10,000%. And he did that when he dropped a truthy.
Okay.
And said, what is wrong with NFL owners? Are they stupid? Deion Sanders was a great college football player and was even greater in the NFL. He's also a very good coach, streetwise and smart. Therefore, get thrilled when they say therefore. Shador, his quarterback son, has phenomenal genes and is all set for greatness. He should be picked immediately by a team that wants to win. And I saw that and I said, you know what, Trump? You're right on this one. I can't find an issue with this statement.
I agreed with it when I first read it. Then the second time I read it, it didn't feel the same. I felt like I was standing beside one of those white slave owners at a slave auction, and I made a bid on somebody, and he was like, "Well, but what's wrong with you? Why you ain't bid on him? That's the one you need to pick. Got good genes, come from a good daddy."
Oh, I didn't think.
His daddy got a strong back. So when he said jeans, I was like, "Wait a minute, bro! Like, Trump, like,
right, it's all caps. It's in all caps.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You got too excited talking about that, like."
Dang it, Don.
He got me the first time. But that second time, I read that real low key on some slave owner type stuff. Like, hold on, what kind of tone did you really have when you said this? I need to be in the room and hear you say this physically, because it kind of came off a little auction blockish.
Well, look, if we're going to be honest about the NFL draft,
I mean, it is modern day slavery, but that's another topic for another day. Because, we're going to talk about that a little later at the end of the episode.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that is our coverage of Trump's 100 days. And we are at that point in our episode where, you guessed it, we are at the pickle of the week. But we're changing up our intro this week because...
I have 2 pickles. I have 2 pickles. I have 2 pickles today. Hey, the 2 big things, the boom, bing, big old like 2 pickles today. Day.
You guessed it.
2 pickles.
I got 2 pickles today.
Who's sharing the brine this week?
So the first one is going to be Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan. Miss Dugan was arrested this past week by the FBI on charges of obstruction of justice and concealing an individual to prevent arrest. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, bro, this sounds kind of wild. Like, what did she do? Like, it couldn't have been that crazy. Nah, she did something out of a movie, bro. Homegirl, they tried to arrest on the 18th. There was an individual named Eduardo Flores Ruiz, an undocumented immigrant facing domestic violence charges. And he was about to be arrested in the by ICE agents in the courthouse. So according to these federal agencies, the judge confronted the agents, questioning the validity of their warrant, and in doing so, she gave Ruiz access to like a restricted area so that he could basically escape out of the courthouse while she held him up.
I'll distract them. You
while you go run out the back, only for him to get caught later on. They were like, "Nah, you know what you was doing, bro." Like, I get it. You may not agree with the process of this whole deportation thing, and we've talked about it before. How it's just been a cluster.
Yeah.
But ma'am, if I'm just saying this, and I just ask that our listeners hear my heart. But if it comes down to saving myself or saving you from ICE, I want you to understand that every day of the week, I'm going to choose myself. This woman threw away her career, has been locked up and faced charges, all for trying to help an undocumented immigrant evade ICE, which I want us to understand in this whole deportation thing. He's undocumented and he has charges.
So here's my only point in the charges. At this point, he has just been accused of a crime.
That is very true.
He's just been accused.
So let's take the charge. Let's take the charge away. He's still undocumented.
Yeah.
I mean he's still undocumented. So is ICE within the rights to detain him? I'm gonna say yes.
I believe so.
So I wouldn't throw myself down on that sword for the sake of this. Now, unless that was somebody she knew and it was a love affair, that's the only thing. That's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, that was a lot. So she's been arrested. I think there was some pushback on social media about how this whole thing transpired, because I guess they released like the FBI posted like some information about her or posted her mugshot, and they said it was just kind of just real unprofessional of the handling of it.
Well, now I think in the aftermath of it, it's very much like, oh, we're going to go ahead and make an example out of this situation. Yeah. But yeah, like, girl, Hannah,
it won't worth it, Hannah.
You did so, and then I read part of the criminal complaint. He apparently beat the crap out of somebody.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, like.
Oh, so this wasn't no simple like they got into an argument and he pushed her or something like that.
Nah, like he was into a fight with his roommate, as I understand it, and then like a woman came in to stop it and he thumped her on the head, and I was like, hold on,
Manny,
what? Yeah,
bro. First of all, you thumping somebody on the head in 2025 sounds crazy,
wild,
bro.
So it sounds like if you told me,
yeah.
If I say, hey, we're going to deport illegal immigrants, but we are going to deport people who are violent in nature.
Yeah.
Like, I think by and large, most people are going to agree with that statement.
Yeah.
And this kind of fits the mold. I think we're looking at a completely different situation if we're looking at a family court situation. Mm-hmm. Or it was a meaningless, like, he's here for jaywalking. Yeah. Oh, he was driving with expired tags. Like,
yeah.
What y'all doing here? But again, I want to draw the line.
There has to be a line drawn.
It has to be.
Yeah.
If we are going are we innocent till proven guilty?
Yeah, or guilty until proven innocent.
Right. Because all this could be thrown out and he's not a criminal and okay, this is not under the targets we're looking at. So it looks like you're grabbing someone pre-conviction.
And see, that's a good point, Manny, because then that to me that questions what is the criteria you're going out to get people? Were you after him because he was undocumented and he just so happened to be in court, or are you looking at people that are undocumented and have a pending charge? Because see, that's wrong.
Well, and I think it was the latter. I think they're like, oh, you're undocumented and you have a court case. Cool. This should be a real easy
grab.
Pick me up.
That's crazy, bro. So, nonetheless, hey Judge,
Brian.
Hannah, you might not want. Don't do that again. I would just say, I know that you are of legal counsel, but let the boys here at the pod give you some legal counsel. Don't you do that? Don't do
that. I would advise against it. I would advise against it.
Right. And my second pickle is former U.S. Representative George Santos. George Santos on April the 25th was sentenced to 87 months in federal prison. And for our listeners, for you who may not know how long 87 months are, if you divide by 12, carry the 6, and you add the 3, that's over 7 years. And he was pled guilty. Now he pleaded guilty to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. This sentencing took place in New York. And first of all, Santos is 36 years old, which I thought he was a little older than that, but he's 36. Really? He admitted to a series of fraudulent activity during his 2022 congressional campaign. Which included deceiving donors, misusing campaign funds for personal expenses such as luxury goods and travel, and stealing identities to make unauthorized contributions. He also fraudulently applied for unemployment benefits while employed and running for Congress. God, dog, man. So if he gets 7 years, then how long should Adams get? Anyway, so this was in Central Islip in New York. So I mean, hey, I think never mind. I'm gonna stay out of Adams. I'm gonna leave you alone. But George has said that if he has to go to prison, which appears that he will, I believe he has to turn himself in July the 25th. So at least you'll enjoy the Independence Day before your independence is taken for 7 years.
And he still might get pardoned. He
ain't getting pardoned. He ain't getting pardoned. He ain't getting pardoned. He has said that if he has to go to federal jail, which it looks like he will, that he will request to do it in solitary confinement to hopefully give him the chance for safety. I don't know why he feels that he'll be so unsafe in federal prison. Club Fed I heard was nice.
If he goes to Club Fed.
Yeah, they send him like the Rikers, but God, Peace be the journey, brother.
Peace be the journey.
And I just want to remind people that he was doing this while he was running for campaign, and hence why he's no longer in the House of Representatives is because George was just lying.
That's a wild dude, man.
They said he lied. Said his mom died in 9/11. Like, bro,
but she like, I'm here.
He said he wanted a drag queen, but they had the picture. They had the picture. I almost let it slip. They had the picture of homie dressed up in the drag. He was like, "Yeah, nah, that ain't me, bro." You have a very, for those of you that know who George Santos is, he has a very distinct face. There's not, you know how you have some people you're like, "Oh, you look just like so and so." No, that looked like you, sir. Stop lying. So, yeah. So George is in a pickle because over 7 years is a long time. But he's young. He's young, so I would assume he's 36. So he'll get out when he's about
43.
43. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's not. It could have been worse.
Could have been worse. Could have been far worse.
Those are my pickles of the week. So yeah,
man.
Good luck to both of these individuals. And peace be the journey.
Yeah. Man.
So with that being said, we are at the conclusion of episode 17. And as you guys always know, at the end of our episode, we like to give you our spotlights of the week. So Manny, what is your spotlight for the week?
Well, I got a couple. I'm gonna go through them quickly.
Okay.
Jeez, you alluded to one earlier, but I had to come back at here. RFK. Broken clock about once a month. RFK's, I feel like he's good for doing something. I'm like, that's not a bad idea. So in this past week, he made an announcement along with the FDA commissioner Marty McCary. And basically, they've come up with a plan to phase out 8 petroleum-based synthetic food dyes in the American food supply by 2026.
Okay.
So, and a big piece of this is over the growing concerns of potential health risks associated with these additives. And I think it's a standpoint. You look at Cheetos in the United States and Cheetos elsewhere, those ingredient lists look vastly different. So, that I was like, good job, RFK. Now
we can get down with it.
Now, the flip side for him this week, he also wanted to start a registry of people who were autistic. And I'm like, there you go, man. And it was the same day. It was the same day. And I was like, dang. So that's the first spotlight. So we'll see how that plays out over the next year or so. Next up, there was a huge ICE operation in Florida that over the course of 4 days arrested over 780 people.
That's wild, bro.
There was some notable arrests. One was a Colombian national convicted of homicide. There was an alleged MS-13 gang member for Guatemala. There was a Russian national with an Interpol red notice for vehicular manslaughter. And then there was also another Honduran national and suspected member of the 18th Street gang. So under their ICE 287G authority, they were working with local law enforcement to round some people up. But 800 people in 4 days is wild.
No, that's wild, bro.
That is wild.
That's a lot of people, bro.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's all right. We'll see how this goes and see where it gets replicated. Yeah. You know, the Trump team loves some big numbers. So,
well, I know we talked about it at the beginning of the before we started recording, but there was another one over the weekend where you had 100 immigrants arrested in a raid in an underground Colorado nightclub where they had some active duty military working. So, as we said before the episode, shout out to Tom Homan because he
understood the plan. He understood the plan.
And I just want our listeners to understand the difference in work and performatives. And for those of you that may work a job, you know that there's a difference in when there's an employee that's working and when there's an employee that ain't working but look like they're working.
That man Tom
is working. You don't see him with all the performatives. You don't see him with all the extra stuff.
He ain't showing up at UFC. He ain't going to none of the events.
You hear about him and you see the results. I just want to point that out when you look at somebody like Christine Nome, where she got to have the full body gear on with all that makeup and all that hair, and she looked like that she done went and raided places, and she's standing there with bodyguards on the side of her and in front of cages and stuff like that. You don't see Tom Homan doing that. You don't see Tom that. There's a difference when you working, because when you working, you ain't got time to perform, but when you got time to perform, that means you ain't really working. You understand what I'm saying, bro?
Yep.
So I just want to, while this deportation thing has been a mess, I just want to say shout out to Tom Homan because he's working.
He's working.
He is working. So yeah, bro.
And then my last spotlight on a very somber note. We held this for last just to see if there were any other details that kind of came out. On Saturday evening, there was a Filipino festival. And I'm going to mispronounce this, but I'm going to say the Lapu Day Street Festival in Vancouver. An individual in an SUV basically drove through the crowd and what's been described as a car ramming attack. At this point, 11 people have been killed and 20 people injured. They do have the suspect in custody as a 30-year-old man, and which does have a history of significant interaction with both police and healthcare officials dealing with mental health. So authorities have ruled out terrorism as a motive, and believe that the suspect acted alone. So definitely thoughts and prayers to the 31 families that have been impacted by another mental health tragedy.
Yeah, and that's just tragic, man.
Yeah.
Hate to hear that. Man, it just makes me think, man, there's so much that you can try to do to prevent certain situations and certain things from happening, but at the end of the day, you can't prevent every and anything, man. And that's just unfortunate to those.
When people crash out, they crash out.
Yeah, man. That's very true. So our thoughts and prayers go out to those families that are directly or indirectly impacted by this incident. So,
well, those are my spotlights. So hopefully yours end a little bit higher than mine.
Well, mine's kind of, we hit on it a little bit before. Well, first I want to say this, for Trump, there was, the administration has recently reversed the decision to terminate the visas of hundreds of international students. We heard that Trump was planning to do this to crack down. I believe the number was like 4,700 student visas that were over here at various universities. And we know that there was this attack on particularly Harvard and some other schools that he was targeting, and this was the result of that. Well, that decision has now been reversed because of legal and public backlash. And just another one of those things again where Trump seems to just throw crap at a wall and see if it sticks. And ultimately, this is just coming at the heels of these universities not agreeing or bending the knee to what he wants them to do. So I just want to say shout out to those universities to sticking to what they believe in, and hearing out what their students want as far as support from these universities, and not being afraid to stand up for what they believe in. I think that's very key. I think we're going to see more of it. We talked about it in a previous episode. About how some of these coalitions, academic coalitions, have been coming together to push back on certain things that they feel like are unfair and are completely illegal from the Trump administration, and involving what these universities can and cannot do. So shout out to them. And lastly, we talked about it a little bit about the NFL draft that happened this past week. And I want to say that we've seen something that I will say was probably the most craziest, unprecedented thing I've ever seen in my life. Yes. And that was the sliding of Shedeur Sanders to, he got drafted 5th round.
Yeah, I believe 5th
round. He got drafted in the 5th round after being projected as a,
was it top 3, top 5?
Yeah, like he was looking at being a top round pick, and he slid, arguably taken way below where many thought. I thought Mel Kiper was going to have a heart attack live on TV.
Mel was going through it.
But with this, I just have a thought. I got a thought.
Uh-oh.
And I just want people to hear me out. Why do white owners feel so intimidated by intelligent and confident black men? I feel like Shedeur was only slighted. You could say that NFL teams hated his dad. Oh, well. I never heard nobody say how much they hated Archie Manning when he did the same thing for Eli and Peyton.
But, I mean, I don't remember the counteracting of Baker Mayfield or Johnny Manziel. Well, I guess Johnny Manziel did fall. He did fall, but he
didn't fall like this.
Like this.
And we can all sit here and say that Shedeur is 1,000 times better than Johnny Manziel. But even quarterbacks that we've seen that have been of the, you can call them arrogant, you can call them cocky. We've seen it in non-black quarterbacks, but when it's us, why is it a problem? I feel like that's a number one reason why Cam Newton is not playing right now. Because a team, a owner, a locker room can't handle that confidence. And I just don't understand. And I think that the league allowed us to all see in real time that what we thought was going on is really what's going on.
This quiet part out loud.
And I just want to make a point. And I always say this, and this is no disrespect to this gentleman, but I feel like they always want black quarterbacks to be like Donovan McNabb. Don't say play good, play nice, eat your Campbell soup with your mama, and be quiet, and don't say nothing else. But when you're vocal, it's a problem. And I want us to really understand this kid Shador. Outside of if you take him out of being Sanders' son, he's a stand-up kid, never been disrespectful. Every team that he's played for, all his teammates have raved about how he is a leader. We've never seen him in any type of situation. We ain't seen him you won't even find a clip on social media. This brother in the club. I mean, he loves the game of football. And he's confident, and rightfully so. As a father, I would want my son, if I had one, to be just as confident in his abilities too. But where does that leave you when you want to raise a son who wants to be an athlete, and you have to tell him that, though I tell you to be confident, when you get in these spaces, diminish yourself.
Dim that light.
Diminish yourself, even though I've taught you to shine that light high. I think we have a real problem.
I mean, Shador is probably the first. I won't say the first. I might say first. First QB in the nil era. Like you're not getting broke college kids in the first round no more.
Yeah.
Like you're getting kids who are getting nil deals and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Shador outside doesn't necessarily need to go to the NFL.
No.
Now he wants to, and it's his choice. But like he doesn't really need it. So, and I think it was the owners trying to say, hey, y'all might be getting this money down in college,
but you won't get it here.
And I think it impacted a lot of people. Like also the Quinn Ewers. But yeah, that man, instead of entering the NFL draft, that man should have entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, he should have. This draft was very weird to watch, man, and it did not feel like a normal draft. Now, shout out to my team, New England Patriots. I felt like they drafted very well, so I'm not complaining about what they did. But this draft just felt a little weird, man, and maybe you have a reason why.
Well, so here's my theory, and I've been telling the boys this since Thursday. I think the NFL told them, don't draft him. Don't draft him till Saturday. We need these ratings. Right. And we always have a good first round. Everyone's aware of the people in the first round, at least for the first 2 hours. But you get past pick 10, you're now getting to the players that people had to like really either follow a specific team or just follow college football like that. But everyone knew who Shador Sanders was. So let him get out Thursday into Friday.
Yeah, I definitely think
round 2, round 3, you're losing a lot of casual fans. Yeah, but you knew Shador, so you kept watching. Because I think the second and third round by the Nielsen ratings, second highest all time. So they're like, can't cut it off here. We need this energy to go into Saturday,
bro. This was just something was up. Something was up. But I definitely think that the approach of black athletes needs to be talked about more. And even not seeing somebody like Mike Tomlin not pick Shador when they need a quarterback.
They need a quarterback.
Like they'd have nobody. Only to have to, after Shador was picked, to have to settle for a quarterback. I think there was a jig, and that jig was definitely in play. But
well, I think after you had the coaches and other players start saying, "Hey, this is weird," like you got Sean Payton being like, "Hey, man,"
yeah, because Sean was like, "Yeah, y'all tripping.
wilding,
Yeah, y'all tripping." Wild. So I think there's definitely something up. Shout out to Shador. Though he is not on my team, I will definitely be supporting this brother because not only did he get drafted, but he got drafted probably the largest quarterback room in the NFL.
With the best opportunity for still an opportunity for him because with Deshaun Watson still being out, Joe Flacco, I mean, he is a good Smoking quarterback at 41, but I think he's beatable.
Yeah. You got Kenny Pickett, which they traded for, and then they took Dylan Gabriel, before they took Shador, which is crazy because they took Dylan Gabriel in the third. Right, well, you could have took Shador then, but then again, there's a jig that's in play. So
now broke neck to Dylan having to wake up like, yeah, I'm going to Browns. I'm the next one of the future. Oh yeah,
nah. I don't think so. So shout out to the Sanders family because Shiloh ended up going undrafted. So regardless of how you think about Deion, shout out to
still in the league.
Shout out to a black dad, a black present dad. Having a vision for his kids, feeding that vision, fueling that vision, and having the joy and satisfaction to sit back to realize that both of his kids, as of today, are NFL players.
Yep.
We don't see much of this. We don't see a lot of this. The only other black dad I can think of is LeVar Ball. A active present dad that we have seen really advocate for his children. And I'm not saying that no other dad is. Cause I know you got like Ja Morant's dad, but Ja Morant dad be wild. That's why Ja be wild.
Someone get that under control.
But Deion has seen his children and has coached his children from the beginning to now, and to now hand them off to the NFL. Job well done, brother, for raising these two black gentlemen to hopefully go forth and prosper and carry on the legacy and legendary name of the Sanders family. So shout out to y'all, man. So that is my spotlight. I don't have anything else. Do you got anything, brother?
We all good here.
I'm good, man. My heart and mind is clear. Yeah. To our listeners, we thank you for tuning in to this episode. And as we always tell you at the conclusion, that if nobody else loves you, just know the boys here at the pod. We love
y'all.
We thank you. We appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you at the next episode. Take care.